The greatest source is touching the menus, the sauce. And I'm not speaking about the sauce, I'm speaking about the sauce. It's the menus. Think of the menus. How does the restaurant clean the menus? Oh, and I'm making people really gross out now because now I'm telling them about things they must be mindful of.
Hey everyone, so we sanitize this and we sanitize that. But what about sanitizing our play areas? So I decided to do a little bit of research and call up a few of our favorite places where our children love to play and eat. And in some cases, even make pizzas and get face painting done. So I asked all these restaurants the same questions. Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, ma'am.
I want to bring my children over the weekend to come and play. So I just want to check with you. Do you have an indoor or outdoor play area?
We have both, ma'am.
Yes, we have a jungle gym, a kiddie play area.
Oh, wonderful.
No, we do not have a play area, but what we do have is a bakery where the kids can actually make chocolate cookies, gingerbread man, and pizzas.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And is there someone in charge that helps them with this?
Yes, there is someone who will help them out.
Is there a sanitizing station near this where they are working with food and with people?
Yes.
Yes, everything. We sanitize when you come in through here, and then we take your temperature.
So you have a sanitizing station at the entrance, but not near the playground?
No, we don't have, but he normally has her own sanitizer next to her table.
So she has her own sanitizer that she then uses in between?
Yes.
We also asked them if they sanitize their play area.
Yes, ma'am, they do after maybe an hour, they do sanitizing.
So after every hour they sanitize the play area?
What I know is just they sanitize and then they polish it.
Okay.
Polish and then they sanitize it.
Okay, so you do sanitize it every day?
Yes, before anybody comes in.
Out of 10 restaurants, only one restaurant didn't sanitize their play area. So you haven't sanitized the jungle gym yet?
At the moment, no, we haven't.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
The question really is it about sanitizing or hand washing? We are terrified of this germ. We asked our experts. Doctor, it was alarming because when I phoned some of the play areas, some of them I could hear when I asked too many questions, because I didn't just ask 2, I asked like 10 questions. I could hear them changing the way they spoke. You know, some of them were like, yes, we sanitized yesterday. Okay. So I want to know it from you. I've known you for so long. And first of all, thank you for your time. But to all our moms and our dads and everyone listening and watching this video, what's the difference between bacteria and a virus?
Yeah, so difference would imply that the one needs a living host to live in to survive. Virus can't survive on its own outside a living host, whereas a bacteria can. It sustains its own life and produces its own energy, etc. But both of them can cause disease, as you know. So you can get a bacterial infection or a viral infection.
So which one, as a parent, should I be most terrified of?
Both and none. I tell you why. Because bacteria have a big family. There are cousins and nephews, etc., that have the ability to cause disease if in certain colonies they get past a certain amount in the body. There are also bacteria that come in and out and don't even cause disease at all. And the exact same applies to viruses. They're viruses that you've had and your body's already responded to, and you didn't even know you've had them. So we only speak about the big ones that cause a dramatic response that we end up feeling a bit sick and ill and responding to them. So yeah, some of them deserve a bit of attention. So that's the differentiation, I think.
So which one needs the antibiotic? How come they say, oh, you can't get an antibiotic for this one?
Oh, that's a good question. So antibiotics don't kill viruses. Antibiotics are designed not to target, engulf, and swallow and kill viruses. Antibiotics are designed to attach to and launch an attack that actually moves towards bacterial infections. And remember, bacteria are just one type of germ. Virus is one type of germ. And then you get fungus or swum, that's the other type of germ. So antibiotics only work on the bacterial germs. They have no effect on the viral, causative organisms.
So my baby came home the other day from school and she said, "Mommy, did you know that you get good bacteria and bad bacteria?" And I was like,
love it. I love it. I love it.
Is that true?
She is correct. The Professor Africa Bredenkamp would be correct there. Because there are bacteria that we live in a commensal relationship with. Everyone speaks about probiotics, for the gut, and we all speak about taking them after taking antibiotics, because antibiotics, as I said, they work on decreasing the number of and killing certain bacteria. And in your gut, for example, you've got good and bad bacteria, and the balance and the ratios of the different families and colonies maintains an environment for absorption of food, for example, and that's important.
So, based on my little survey and my conversation that I've had with all these restaurants and play areas, some of which are sanitized and others which has never been cleaned ever before a pandemic throughout.
Yeah.
Never seen sanitizer. In the unlikely event that our children go and play on these jungle gyms or play areas or soft play, what can they get as a paranoid mom who walks around literally with sanitizer and wet wipes? If they had to rub their eye or inhale or taste or lick these.
Lick, yes. Well, they could get both. So they could get bacteria or viruses. Remember that viruses don't live long on surfaces as long as bacteria do. So if they're licking the slide or the jungle gym, for example, or licking their hands after touching those, or if you lick your hands or put bread in your mouth after touching the hand railing of the escalator at the mall, what happens is those bugs, those germs, those bacteria get onto the bread, you ingest them. Some of those bacteria will have the ability to cause disease in humans. Others not at all. So you would then develop things like, for example, a sore throat. If the organism on the handle was a streptococcus bacteria that causes strep sore throat. So touch points and so forth for skin conditions and maybe some upper respiratory stuff. That's why you often find children having a little bit of a mild, snotty, runny nose. But that doesn't mean that they're violently ill or that there's something wrong with their immune system. It means the immune system is just responding to exposure of these germs and dealing with it in a way sometimes that lasts 1 day to 5 days without major side effects.
Okay.
So I think that's an important principle, Alana.
So do I run around with hand sanitizer and wipe their hands every time they've touched something?
Yeah, I think as a parent, you need balance. So you need to look at where are the greatest risks for consuming large amounts of germs. And those are just before you eat. So asking the kiddies to wash their hands before dinner is very important. And before you give them lunch or before they have their sandwiches at lunchtime at school out of their lunchbox, to maybe have a wet wipe, for example, or sanitizer and clean their hands first. So educating them as to cleaning your hands before you put something into your mouth. Because remember, they can only cause harm if they're introduced into the body in certain ways. And most of them are obviously with droplet spread through the mouth and when we consume and eat and so on. There are those that are in the air and that inhaled and that kind of thing. But a lot of touching happens, and that's where we transfer them. So yeah, that's what we need to remember with the kiddies. So you're not paranoid by being a parent that cleans hands. It's a very good practice, but look at when to clean your hands. You can't do that 24/7 and become paranoid that you create fear in your child and actually make them a little bit obsessive in terms of behavior. It also has been said, there's a wonderful term for those parents that want to go and look it up. It's called the germ hypothesis. So if you Google that, you'll find out that it actually helps your immune system to be exposed to small amounts of germs and viruses on a day-to-day, your day-to-day life, so that you can launch a memory in your immune system to deal with those common bugs from everyday exposure. And you can play nicely where everyone washes their hands beforehand and goes into a play room, for example, where the play mats on the floor are cleaned with the right detergent at the right time and regularly, unlike some of those establishments you contacted to ask for an opinion.
So speaking of which, how often should they clean them? I mean, if I don't want my children to have too many bacteria, viral infections, or how often should they clean their play areas and mats?
So there you have the greatest source is touching the menus, the source. And I'm not speaking about the sauce, I'm speaking about the source. It's the menus. Think of the menus. How does the restaurant clean the menus? Oh, and I'm making people really gross out now because now I'm telling them about things they must be mindful of. Mm. So obviously the menus get touched by waitresses and waiters and table to table. So that's an important source. And then under the table, children don't want to sit on the lovely hard wooden chairs. They want to get under the table. How many times do your kids not want to go under the table? And that's where we all freak out because we look at that thick layer of dust combined with the mopping that's occurred in certain establishments, and then you don't feel safe. So obviously that makes it really unpleasant. So you have to be mindful of that. I think if they do play around on the floor, you can't prevent that. When they get up to come and sit and eat, wipe their hands, etc., and try and keep them clean. But it's also very important that you can't run after the child 24/7. So if I had to advise a restaurant owner, obviously they need to have regular wipe downs of all the surfaces with the appropriate sanitizer or cleaning agent. The floors need to be also done before the dinner settings per time. You often have a first setting or second setting for supper or lunch. And then each table must be managed in exactly the same way. That's why you'll find some restaurants have moved over to paper tops, where obviously I love the sustainability goals of not using plastic, for example. I love also the fact that they can be recycled in terms of the paper placemats, and it's only used once by the client. And you can't reuse it because there's a little oil stain on the side from the slop chip and the hands that you've used to touch. And then you can't hide the dirt, you see, when you've got those paper placemats. Then you have to replace them before the next client sits, which I like. And I think that's a really good practice.
Doctor, thanks for your time today. You're so good. You should have a TV show.
Yes, good idea. I enjoy educating the public on these matters.